Okay, so I've been playing, about 3 days ago, for about 4 days previous to that, I've been playing the PS3 quite a lot. Just for, something a bit different, really. It sort of sits there gathering dust, and then occasionally I just think I'll pull it out and have a go. And I really wanted to commit to actually putting the time and effort into playing the PS3 and getting used to the controller, because that's always been my issue. It's just been a sort of controller thing. And even though I've got a controller that sort of almost emulates the Xbox 360 controller in size and everything else, it's still not an Xbox 360 controller. It's like you can go to a restaurant and order a nice fine piece of rump over saving yourself a little bit of money over the fillet steak, but even though it's nice and it tastes good, it's still not quite fillet steak. So yeah, I've been putting a little bit of time and effort into the PS3, and I actually really enjoyed it. And some people ask me from time to time, because obviously people know I've got two sort of separate consoles, should I say. And people say to me from time to time, what do you think's got the best players on? Who do you think are the better players, Xbox players or PS3 players? And I'm going to try and answer that in the best possible way that I can without offending people or sort of upsetting the masses. Now, there are a variation of ways that we could look at getting an answer to that, but from my personal experience, from sort of like a competitive point of view, who offers me the most challenges and who can sort of ruin my day a little bit more from maybe their ability or something else, maybe some higher power that we don't know. And I would say that the better players that I've come across are on the Xbox 360, and that's not me just taking I suppose the sort of mass view over it, where people always say, oh, Xbox players are better than PS3, because I think there's a couple of elements there that could almost add to that reason. But there's a high element of respect there that sort of balances on both parties. Now, the differences, these are the differences between the two sets of players, and I will say for the PS3 players, as long as you don't walk into a hack lobby, which there are so many, the one sort of difference with the PS3 is that I find that people, particularly playing a game like Modern Warfare 2, I could play a team deathmatch game or a domination game, and I'm pretty damn sure that I would get killed by every single different gun that is available in that game during one round. I would get killed by a guy carrying a SCAR, I'd get killed by a guy carrying an LSW, for goodness sake, the most recoily light machine gun known to any COD. As of yet, it's almost like the PKP from Battlefield 4. It's just got so much visual recall, but people actually use it. People, for some reason, like to pick up that gun and use it. I would get killed by the Striker. I would get killed by everything, every single gun imaginable, and people vary about a little bit. If you sit and look at the kill feed down the bottom left-hand side, everything's different. Obviously, some people still use the old favourites like the FAMAS and the UMP45 and obviously the intervention sniper rifle, but it most definitely stands out as people try and maybe switch it up a little bit. Now, that could maybe equate towards the fact that people don't do so well, because they're sort of, they're experimenting. Maybe they're not the best players in the world, but they like to experiment, or they haven't really figured out which guns are the most powerful, so they see something and think, oh, I'll give that a little bit of a try. And obviously it doesn't really work out for them, so they go to something else and try that one. But it does seem that people vary it around a little bit more. Now, for that, I give them mass respect, because one of the things I've always said about Xbox 360 players is they obviously are, everybody's classes are kind of copy and paste. It's either a UMP45, I'm talking about Modern Warfare 2, it's either a UMP45, an intervention, or a FAMAS. UMP45, intervention, FAMAS. Marathon, lightweight, commando, and attack knife. It always seems to be the same classes that you get killed by continuously, and obviously the noob tubers. But with PlayStation 3, people do switch and change it up a little bit, and that's pretty interesting. Also, as well, I've noticed that there's almost a... whenever I play... Let's take Wasteland, for instance. You'd start a round of Wasteland, say like Domination or Team Deathmatch, and depending on which end of the map you start, it doesn't really matter. And he would say, okay, let's do this, or, whatever he says. And you'd start off and you'd start running. With the Xbox 360, I can almost sit there and say, okay, 3, 2, 1, and here come the noob tubes. And it's just a flurry of fucking grenade launchers flying over your head from people from both parties, obviously all standing in the key place where they're either going to blow up or get blown up. And that's how it starts. And literally you will get, considering how big that map is, I think it's the biggest map in Modern Warfare 2, you would literally get a first blood within about 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, that's how it would happen. Whereas on the PS3, you can start it off and say, okay, 3, 2, 1, here come the... No noob tubes. Okay, that's quite interesting. And then, even just sort of starting out on Wasteland, I can sort of take a route and I will know that if I go that way, There's going to be the noob tubes flying over my head. So as long as I avoid that and I'm careful, that's good. I might get hit marked. But go through, I always tend to go through, I shouldn't really give my technique away, but I always tend to run through the tunnel and head straight towards the C flag, and I would literally know there's going to be a guy running down the sort of dugout area, the trench, and there's going to be a sniper over the top, and there's going to be a guy who's going to be sitting on the, you know, the automatic sentry gun that sits there, the sort of manual sentry gun, should I say. And, you know, it's like I say, almost every game is like a copy and paste of the next. Whereas the PS3, people take you by surprise because you walk down and think, right, there's going to be a guy coming down. No, there's no guy. Where the hell is he? And then you sort of take a little a little journey around. It's like, where the hell is everybody? And everybody's got their own little plan. Whereas on the Xbox 360, it's like I say, it's a copy and paste. You can almost use an element of ESP to judge where people are going to be. And yeah, you know, whether that makes people the better players because it's almost like everybody has the same idea and everybody knows these little techniques and these little nooks and crannies to get into to get the first blood. And I kind of know I'm only really using Modern Warfare 2 as a sort of guide here, but that's the one that I've played the most. Now, another thing that significantly stands out to me, and again this could help equate towards the fact that people maybe seem to be a little bit better, is the scuff controller element on Xbox 360 is a lot higher. There's a lot more people seem to carry scuff controllers, and I don't quite know what that, you know, what the reason for that is. I don't really know much about scuff controllers apart from the fact that they piss me off when you're playing against somebody carrying a scuff because they're like fucking kangaroos bouncing around and dropping and nah, I hate it. And I would never, do you know one thing I would never do is if Scuff ever approached me and said, hey, you know, we'd like to sponsor you if you put code pro, I'd say, fuck off. I'm not promoting that shit because to me it just gives people an unfair advantage. But that's just my own personal opinion. I don't really judge any YouTuber who does it, but for me, I wouldn't really want to promote that kind of thing. But the scuff controller element on PS3 is a lot lower, and I don't know if that's because there's less of them available, or maybe they're not as effective on a PS3 controller. But people don't tend to jump and drop and jump and drop as much as they do on the Xbox 360, whereas the Xbox 360, literally everybody's bouncing around like you've just gone for a Sunday roast at a wacky warehouse and you look in the playing room and the kids are on the fucking trampolines. You know, it's really annoying, and that does frustrate me quite a lot because obviously, not many people really talk about this, but the one thing that's obvious in Call of Duty is that if you're airborne, you have a clear advantage. If you're on the floor, you have a clear advantage. And I don't mean in the fact that you're a little bit more, let's say, of an evasive, harder target to hit. I've mentioned this so many times. I mean that when you're in the air, you soak and sponge up bullets. When you're on the floor, you soak and sponge up bullets. And people know that. People are clued up with that. So I don't know, it's a tricky one, but like I say, from a sort of adversary point of view where it offers more of a challenge, I find that the Xbox 360 do challenge a little bit more. The PS3 don't. And, you know, I do find more players on the PS3 aren't very savvy. You know, people are walking into walls and the amount of times I walk past somebody and they're just running into a wall or sort of like bouncing up and down a rock trying to climb on top of it, and they haven't quite figured out that you can't get on that rock or that there's no secret portal in that wall. And I don't know whether it's because, you know, maybe you could put it down to a subscription thing. Obviously on Xbox 360 you have to face the fact that you have to fork out £40 a year to play, and on the PS3 obviously you can create as many bloody accounts as you want. And I don't know, maybe people think, do you know what, I'm actually half decent at this game, I will pay that £40 a month. And on the PS3 they probably think, do you know what, I'm probably going to do absolutely terrible, I've got 2 sets of thumbs on my left hand, but do you know what, it doesn't matter, even though I'm not very good at the game, I'm not really losing out, I'll just set up an account and it's not like I'm going to, if I get bored with it and I don't like it, whose loss is it? So, I don't know, it's a strange one, and I don't know why the people vary so much. But like I say, you know, I'm not trying to hate towards either faction. I've got respect for PS3 players in an element where I haven't got respect for Xbox 360 players, but that's just the way it is. And again, it could be down to the controller thing. I just find the controller so bloody difficult to use. Maybe other people have that problem as well. Because I'm certainly not the best player on PS3. My Xbox 360 gameplays compared to the PS3 are fucking stacks better. And it's only because my aim is so shit because I just can't get used to it. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question a little bit. And I don't know, what do you think? Have you got both consoles, and who do you find are the better players and offer the more challenge? Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you again. Apocalypse done.